Joining us now for our brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin. Good morning, Vimbai.
Good morning, Adefemi.
And good morning, Mufai.
Morning, Femi.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Good. Good. All righty, let me tell you what's happening around the world. Now, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has threatened to respond to any future U.S. attack by striking American military bases in the Middle East in his first public comments since a ceasefire with Israel was declared. Now, the 86-year-old, who has not been seen in public since taking shelter in a secret location after the outbreak of the war on the 13th of June, said his country had delivered a slap to America's face, a reference to an Iranian missile attack on a U.S. base in Qatar on Monday, which caused no casualties. Now, the Supreme Leader's comments came against a backdrop of a row in the United States over the extent of the damage inflicted by the American strikes. Now, on Thursday, Iran's Guardian Council approved a bill passed almost unanimously by Parliament suspending all cooperation with the United Nations Nuclear Inspectorate, the IAEA. Under the terms of this new legislation, cooperation would only be restored when two bodies, Iran's Atomic Energy Authority and the Supreme National Security Council, notify Parliament that conditions have been met, including a guarantee that its nuclear facilities are safe and recognized as peaceful. Now, coming home to the African continent, and soldiers in Togo have used tear gas and batons on Thursday to disperse hundreds of protesters who blocked main streets in the capital to call for the resignation of longtime leader Faure Gnassingbé. The gathering, organized by bloggers and activists, highlighted persisting political strife in Togo, where last month Gnassingbé was given the powerful new role of President of the Council of Ministers. That's a role that has no fixed term limit. Gnassingbé, whose family has ruled the West African nation since 1967, had previously served for 2 decades as president, and opposition parties have described his new appointment as a constitutional coup that could extend his rule for life. And finally, have you ever heard of enemies feuding in life and after death? Well, a South African court has prevented Zambia's former president, Edgar Lungu, from being buried in Johannesburg just moments before the ceremony was due to begin. This is following weeks of feuding between his family and the Zambian government. Now, Lungu, who was Zambia's head of state from 2015 to 2021, died in South Africa on the 5th of June while receiving medical treatment. He and his successor, the current president, Hakainde Hichilema, were long-standing political rivals, and Lungu's family said that he did not want Hichilema to be present at his funeral. Hichilema's government, however, wants Lungu's body brought back to Zambia for a state funeral and approached Pretoria High Court to try and block his burial. Now, the judge at the court then told the court that lawyers for Lungu's family and Zambia's government had agreed that the burial would not go ahead for now. The Zambian government has until the 4th of July to explain why it wants to repatriate Lungu's body.
A couple of things. You see, with due respect, we all know that the Ayatollah is bluffing. Where was he when the strikes were going on? He was hiding in the bunker now. So what is he saying now? So all of this now, he's coming as a saying that thing. He said he gave it. Which dirty slap did he give to America? He's just bluffing. The bombing, before they informed the Americans so that they will alert them to repel the attack against their base. He's not going to do anything. This one, he's just saying it for his base, the hardline mullah base. You know, all the clerical base, so that they will feel that, no, there's nothing. And that's why we kept on blaming Trump. That you are the one that gave Ayatollah Khamenei mouth to be talking all of this now. Because you involve yourself, you did a strike that didn't get the desired effect as the result. How would he say all of this? He will try to have his victory lap because you gave him the chance. The most important thing is they need to go back to talks. Trump needs to understand that, see, once you keep being malicious and you are bellicose in your rhetoric to nations like this, you embolden them. Obama gave a pathway. I'm not saying it's necessarily better, but the JCPOA was a very good pathway that Trump, went to follow hawks like Nigerian and he said, pull out of the JCPOA. And that's why you're given the chance to be able to enrich this way. With the way Iran is going, it's not that they want to have it. If they wanted to have a warhead, since they will have had a warhead since. Once you enrich over 60%, it's easier to get to 90% than get a warhead. And they have even come out in the past to say that it's against their religion. Mm-hmm. But you have given this man the lap now to be able to say all of this. We're going to kill him. It's not supposed to be a non-issue. Right. What you should get is, and now you can see Iran now flexing and say, our Iranian nuclear authorities too must have to be there and all of that. All of this is just showboating. But probably all of them can sit down on the table and the world can move on from all of this. But all of this Kamenei is talking is, as far as I'm concerned, Boyaya, I'll tell you the truth. The sad thing for Togo, I don't understand is, how can an entire generation of people serve one person? Since Silvanus Olympio was assassinated, it's been from Nasingbe Eyadema, it's now Furu Eyadema. Now they want to use the constitution to concoct something, this head of council of ministers, to be able to entrench themselves in power. Is it only you people? So people should stop acting like they are God. And it's just like what is happening. Ichilema should not forget that, see, if this man says he doesn't want you at his burial, you were sworn political enemies, you went at yourselves. In fact, you beat him in the last election. God has already vindicated. If he says he doesn't want you, just leave him alone, let him be buried. Just because you want to dance on his grave and say we gave him state burial and prove a point, you are stopping a man's burial. Ichilema should remember. Where is Levi Wanawasa today? He's gone. Where is Frederick Chiluba today? He's gone. Ichilema too will die one day. What's the meaning of all of this we are doing? And you're preventing a man's burial because you want to have your political lap. It's not good though.
Thank you, Rufai.
Yeah, I'm going to focus on Zambia because, you know, the funeral had actually started.
Right.
They stopped, people were there, they stopped the funeral a few minutes into the service, which is just, I've never heard of anything of this nature in my life. And the unfortunate thing is that, you know, the South African government was involved, so they've got egg in their faces as well because they now appear to have been unable to create some sort of diplomatic solution between the government of Zambia and the family of the late Edgar Lungu. But the bigger debate here is, who does an individual belong to, a public servant, who do they belong to once they pass, once they die? And that's the debate here. And it reminds me, this is almost exactly what happened with Robert Mugabe, but different. It was within Zimbabwe, because the family was saying that, no, we don't agree with what this government does. So we want him to be buried in our village and it should just be a family affair. And the government was saying, but he's a state icon, he's a national icon. He should have a state funeral at the Heroes Acre, which is similar to this instance where the family is saying, no, he had in his last will and testament, he specifically said he did not want President Hakainde Hichilema at his funeral, and if it means foregoing a state funeral, he was okay with that, which is why the family went ahead to start preparations. However, I also do partially blame the family, because when his body was to be repatriated from South Africa, where he died, back to Zambia, at the last minute, they changed their story, they changed their position. I think they knew that once the body gets to Zambia, they may not have any control. So they said, no, we'll bury him in South Africa. But all of this is just, it's unfortunate, and it's revealing of how toxic politics can become. If you are unable as a leader to say, well, as a state, we did our best, we'll offer our support, maybe we'll carry the costs of the funeral or whatever it is, and just take a step back and respect the man's last wishes and the family's wishes, I think is incredibly important. But some Zambians may argue and say that this is our hero, and our hero should be on our soil where we can go and visit him. I know they have a Heroes Acre where they bury their national icons in Zambia, and that's open to the public. It's almost, it's like a museum type of setup. So they may be saying that, no, but he was our president, so we should have access to him. So the debate is quite something. To Togo, it looks like, I don't know what it is about June, July, August. We always have protests, you know, from Kenya, then they come to West Africa and so forth. You know, when I saw the Togolese protests yesterday, a lot of people were saying, oh, the Kenyan bug has bit another part of the country, another part of the continent. You know, this is unfortunate. that we continue to have protests over the same issues in different African countries day in and day out.
Okay, let me see if I can run through the three stories very quickly. Now, Zambia. My earliest recollection about the politics of the place of burial is a play titled Antigone by Sophocles, written in 442 BC, dealing with ancient thieves, children of Oedipus, fighting each other, Pericles and Eteocles, and the sisters, Orestes, Antigone, saying, look, one of their brothers deserved honorable burial. So it's an ancient thing, it happens. But in the case of Zambia, to go quickly to that, Edgar Lungu and the president, what's his name, Ichilema, they are not friends. Ichilema once offended Lungu when he was president by standing in the way of his convoy. He was detained for 100 days. Last year, Lungu said he would like to run for presidency next year in 2026. Parliament Constitutional Court said, no, he could not run. He wanted to go for treatment in South Africa. Ichilema stopped him, tit for tat. And now Lungu died, and Lungu had told his first daughter that he must not see Ichilema at his burial. But Ichilema is insisting that the body of a dead president is a national property of Zambia. There was a similar incident with Kenneth Kaunda. Kenneth Kaunda's family wanted a private burial. They wanted him to be buried beside his wife. But the government of the day at the time said he must be buried at the Embassy Memorial Park in Lusaka. So it's the same thing that Ichilema is saying, but the Attorney General has gone to court in South Africa. 4th of July, he has to submit an amended motion of notice. 11th of July, the family has up to that time to provide an opposing, motion. And then the court is going to sit again in South Africa August 4. South Africa's position is that, look, this should not be a problem. This is a third party that has been drawn into the problem. They think, the man should be buried in Zambia, but the matter is in court. So the earliest time that Edgar Lungu can be buried will be in August. But we'll see how the court case goes. We cannot dictate to the court. Either it's a court in Nigeria or in South Africa. Togo. In 2018, there was an election in Togo, which was boycotted by most of the opposition parties. But, they went ahead with the election anyway. And for Nyasigbe's party, the UNIR, won the majority of seats. And now what did they do? In April 19, 2024, the government brought a case before the Parliament National Assembly, it is called, to review the Constitution. That Constitution was reviewed. And they then decided they were transiting from a presidential system of government to a parliamentary system of government, whereby the president will be a ceremonial figure and the president of the Council of Ministers will exercise powers of a prime minister. He will be the one to run government on a day-to-day basis. He will have a 6-year tenure, and that tenure can be renewed. The implication is that Nyasigbe can now be president for life, because the UNIR controls the National Assembly. Yes. Now, so there was opposition from the Partido de Togolese, which is led by Olympio's son. There was opposition by Touche pas ma constitution, which is don't touch my constitution, which is a group. 100 Catholic bishops also protested that this is a violation of the right of suffrage of the people of Togo. And so that is what has led to this protest 1 year later also, saying that this is a constitutional coup. Nyasigbe's family has been in charge of that country for 57 years. He himself has spent 19 years. He wants to die in office. 15 African presidents since 2020, 2010 have changed constitution to remain in power. 4 African countries have organized coups, finally, Iran. Now, what's his name? Ayatollah Khamenei has shown up. They said he disappeared, but we have not been told his location. However, what we know is that the Americans, through Steve Witkoff, they are negotiating through the back rooms. And what they are saying, they are giving Iran conditions. They are saying Iran cannot have nuclear enrichment. They are saying they will give 20 to 30 billion naira in terms of access to a civilian nuclear energy program, and that they want negotiations to continue. But Iran is saying they will not give up on nuclear enrichment. So there's backroom negotiation, but where would this lead to? What we are interested in is global peace.
Absolutely.
What we're interested in is a de-escalation of conflict, of tension, which has led to, markets doing well in the US, in Asia, and also oil prices going down.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all for your great submissions. Let's take a look at our newspapers. As ever, we begin with This Day. And This Day does lead with this prospect of emergency rule in Rivers State being over soon as President Tinubu reconciles Nyesom Wike, similarly for Bara and the State's Assembly. This Day's back page lead photographs illustrates this reunion at the President's Aso Rock residence in Abuja. Now, the New Telegraph reports in the House of Representatives launching an investigation into the Nigeria police force over allegations of corruption, procurement fraud, and the illegal sale of national assets. Now, the Nigeria police force is accused of bypassing procurement laws to award contracts of over 50 billion naira to unqualified firms which failed to deliver arms, gunboats, and forensic tools. There are also accusations that the police allegedly split a 6 billion naira uniform contract into 66 smaller deals to evade procurement regulations without proper oversight. Lawmakers are also probing the reported illegal sale of prime police barracks in Abuja, Lagos, and Kano to politically connected private entities without statutory approvals. Meanwhile, the Vanguard reports the Senate has again issued a 10-day ultimatum to the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the NNPCL, to respond to 11 critical financial queries related to discrepancies in its audited financial statements, warning that failure to comply could attract serious constitutional consequences. For context, it refers to 200 trillion naira in unexplained receivables and undocumented legal and audit fees from 2017 to 2023. The Punch leads with federal agencies facing a shake-up as President Tinubu signed those 4 tax bills yesterday. Among the shake-ups is the renaming of the Federal Inland Revenue Service to Nigeria Revenue Service effective January 2026. The Guardian's lead article today is titled "Less for More: How Erratic Supply Shortchanges Band A Households and Industries." The caricature has a consumer being strangled by bills, while in the background, you have Disco and NERC representatives walking away, saying that the consumer should use a generator to supplement their electricity supply or go to court. And speaking of court, the Daily Trust reports on the National Judicial Council approving the compulsory retirement of 10 judges from Imo states. The judiciary say that it's been revealed that 9 of those affected judges falsified their dates of birth in a bid to keep themselves in their positions for longer. To UK papers, yeah, I know. Can you believe it?
Wow.
The UK papers now, we have the Daily Telegraph, which says that Wintour is no longer in vogue. That's as the iconic editor-in-chief Anna Wintour steps down from the fashion magazine after 37 years. And finally, the United Kingdom's Guardian picture headline shows billionaire Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and former news anchor Lauren Sanchez's wedding weekend is well underway in Venice, despite protests greeting the star-studded guest list against over-tourism in the Italian city. Those are your papers.
I mean, you see, these are, yesterday, Dr. when we were talking about the demolition in Lagos, I were quoting law principle, and I was reminding you that Nigeria will turn somebody bad. You thought I was joking. Can you just imagine, Judge, that is supposed to judge case and speak truth to power, is being caught in allegation of
falsifying
what
the date of birth,
age and date of birth. Just can you just sit down, just sit down as you are. Just imagine, Judge, Adajo, just imagine Nigeria for you.
Okay.
Okay, very quickly on the police force. I mean, this probe it's disappointing, to say the least, because we're constantly advocating for improved welfare for the police.
Absolutely.
And we're rooting for the police force, but it becomes a very arduous task sometimes when you look at the amount of corruption at all levels, because sometimes we like to single out the ones on the street who are making life difficult, the ones we interact with on a daily basis. But to get to the 50 billion worth of, this type of, it's yet to be proven, but, the investigation is on. It means that it's happening at several levels. And it's very unfortunate because we're advocating for them, but they also need to
make it easy for
be
us.
advocatable.
Yes.
Okay, very quickly. 2 foreign stories. Let's start with Anna Wintour, who's a legend in the business of this business that we do. He said that we do every morning. Head of editor-in-chief of Vogue for 37 years. Now she says she's stepping down. She's not stepping, she's stepping aside, or rather she's stepping back, because she'll still be the global content director of both Condé Nast and also Vogue. But she's asked for an appointment of a new, editor-in-chief, but she will still be in charge. Now, she's an iconic figure in the reporting of fashion and trends. In 1988, she was the first person to put jeans on the front cover of Vogue. In 1992, she was the first person to put a man on the front page of Vogue magazine. Who was that? Richard Gere and Cindy Crawford, who was his partner at that particular time. So for more than 37 years, Anna Wintour has dictated the trends, the fashion. So you go against her, your business is in trouble. But she'll still be there as an iconic figure. So stepping back doesn't mean she will not be out of place. But this creates opportunities for younger fashion editors who may be interested, but she will still be there. And this is the thing about experience, about influence, about impact, and people grow over the years. The other one is the wedding in Venice by Jeff Bezos. Now, there's been in Europe, not just in Spain or Italy, concerns about what they call over-tourism.
Yes.
We are looking for tourists here. In some countries in Europe, they are saying, we don't want tourists. If you want to come and do your wedding in Venice, then you must be ready to pay the tax. So this is the problem. But, the wedding is still going ahead between Sanchez and Jeff Bezos.
They've been married according to American law already.
No. They want
the parties.
They want this big event, and they have moved it to an exclusive island.
Yes.
So it's still going to happen, but it's just to look at the community and this whole big issue about tourism and over-tourism. Not enough time to look into the details. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Adefemi, thank you so much. I love it when we get through both the World Brief and the newspaper review.